Wow. They actually went and did it. They took two of GOAT's most powerful monsters and remade them to be very powerful and massively relevant in the modern day. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Best of GOATs here, and today we're looking at Chaos, aka Roland, and I'm playing with the Mitsurugi package because although the packages are too expensive at this moment, I am not shelling 80 quid out for a dark position of destruction. So yeah, and by the way, if I sound annoyed with this video, this is my third time trying to record this. So let's get into this, shall we? We have one copy of Dark Position of Chaos and one copy of Blockbuster Soldier. What's cool about this is they've pretty much taken the GOAT effects and buffed them up for the modern era. So a player who likes GOAT might really get into this deck. So with Demark, it brings back a spellcaster on summon, and during your turn it can banish a card on the field. With BLS, it can pop a card on summon, and when it attacks and destroys a monster, it gains 300 points and can attack again. So yeah, if you're a GOAT player, you can tell these are just buff versions of the GOAT cards. What makes them so good is the trap card letting you shuffle between them. You summon this in your own turn, get a spell back for recursion purposes, then on your opponent's turn you play the trap card, bouncing this back to your hand and summoning this for a pop. So yeah, these two are really good in the deck, and they're a great way how to adapt old effects into modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Speaking of the deck, backing that up, we have 3 Karibo and 3 Black Chaos, who by the way I just realised is Magician of Black Chaos holding Dark Paladin's sword, which is super cool. So both these cards can get you into one card out of the deck as they give you access to Mind Shuffle. This card just sets right from the deck, with this card sets it face down, but you flip it at the same turn. In addition to this, this card when it's summoned by shifting back one of these, you can banish 2 opposing cards on your own turn, and it's very hard to interact with. Where this card, not only can it be the entire tribute for a level 8 ritual, giving you access to both the cards I just showed and every Mitsurugi, which is also a level 8, but it can also be discarded to prevent damage, like the original Karibo can, which can be decent in a pinch if your opponent's going for the OTK. And on top of that, it's one of the cutest cards I've ever seen. I love the art of this card so much. Okay, so that's the good part of the deck. Now let's show you the bricks. Mind Shuffle, Ritual Spell, and Summon Skull. So the Mind Shuffle, I know players play 2 of it, but I think this deck's got enough bricks in it, I didn't want to add more. This card lets you add a card that mentions this on activation, which gives you access to this, and then makes you discard a card. So you discard this, trigger its effect, which lets you send this to the graveyard, this then triggers, and itself and any card that mentions the Chaos rituals to your hand. So you get to get into your rituals and +1. Really powerful stuff. And then of course, like I said, Mind Shuffle lets you go from one of these to the other if they're both in if one's in the field, one's in the hand. Give you access to the pop on your opponent's turn, and then on your own turn you can bring this back out for more spell revivals. So yeah, it's a pretty grindy 11 card engine, I would say. And backing it up, we have the Mitsurugis with one of each of the normal summons. And I was playing this, which I'm debating if it's good or not. So with this card, you can add any Mitsurugi monster to your hand, which usually gives you access to Habakiri, which lets you summon any Mitsurugi from your deck and tribute. So which means you can play this, which will then treat itself and get you access to any of your spells and traps, which would be your ritual or your searcher. And then this lets you bring one back on being tributed or summoned. So what you can do is you go either Habakiri into this or this into Habakiri into this. Get the ritual, make a ritual summon with these two. And this gives you back the ritual, and this comes to your field, giving you 2 bodies for a rank 4, hopefully. This gives you access to 2 Mitsurugi rituals by itself, allowing to use the mirror. And it also lets you, and it also gets you into using one of your big Mitsurugi's effects to set something from the deck. Speaking of which, one of each of the big guys, Habakiri, Futsu, and Mirokumo. I keep blanking on his name. So like Habakiri, you reveal it, you summon a Mitsurugi, you get your full combo, but it also lets you drain the opponent's monster for 800 attack points. This card's a Regeki on summon that can force your opponent to discard a card to activate an effect. It's not a full effect negate, but a pretty powerful resource depleter. And speaking about resources, this card lets you recur 1 Mitsurugi per chain when your opponent summons, meaning that yes, you can just link these 2 off to make a good link 2 and get them both back on the opponent's turn with this, giving you another access to the board wipe and keeping the 800 point reduction with an additional body on board for a pop. And there is one way you can bridge from this into the Roland engine, which is Mitsurugi Mirror, which is like a regular ritual, so you can overpay to summon. Now usually you just choose one on the field to trigger the effect, But if you have the skull in your hand, you can sacrifice that on top of it to trigger the skull's effect, dump the ritual, and do what I said earlier with the combo. Speaking of which, we also play one Mitsurugi ritual to summon one Mitsurugi from the hand, bring it back with Kusanagi and then summon from the deck, or vice versa. So yeah, a lot of recursion in this deck, a lot of board breaking potential, and with this we also have a negate. This card, you sacrifice a Mitsu to negate an effect. If it's level 5 or higher, so one of your rituals, which will then come back and set something else from you. It's making this recursion also an extender. And it also gives you recovery because you can banish it, summon a Mitsu from your grave, and then suck another monster. And of course, 3 prayers, which we can use in the draw phase to get Habakiri. In the late game, we can use it as the second effect to get back one of our rituals, usually Murakumo, for a board wipe. Or we contribute a monster to do both and trigger its effects. Which is a good way if you draw the Saji, by the way. You can just summon Saji, use this, get Habakiri, Saji trigger, and then you get an additional resource in your hand you can use for the ritual summon. And for the generic rituals, cards that can bridge both engines, 3 Ragged Records of Rites and 3 Preparation of Rites. So again, both these can search your ritual monsters, and they can both just set up your ritual play, which is good when you don't have the expensive bridge to go through both engines. Finally, for hand traps, we have 3 copies of Fua, 3 copies of Ash Blossom, and backing them up we have 3 Fallen and 3 Droplet. So Droplet, going second, you have 1 point in negated effects, making swinging with a 4-5 or even higher BLS, quite possibly an OTK, or just let you break through boards with your Mitsurugis if they got ways to stop your board wipe. We got this card here, which lets you send a branded card to pop something, and that branded card being Albion will send another copy from the deck. So that's just a good grind game and a good way to just pop things that you have to target, like say opposing Roland decks, for example. Now with these hand traps, I was tempted to play Dominus Impulse as well, but I wasn't sure if turning off BLS's effect would be too detrimental. Looking at the list, I think it's not, so I may try it in the future. But these two are really good. You've got Fua, which when you're playing a deck with a lot of bricks, is really good to help open up, because it gives you more draws and more chance to draw a playable hand. And this such a point doing the same thing. That's what it's here for. It's mostly there to stop Fuas and Perulias. And that's it for the deck. Now let's look at this extra deck. We're playing 2 copies of Espinal Knight, backed up by 1 Happy Masquerena. This is quite simple. You link off your Mitsurugis that you want to revive in the opponent's turn into this. In the opponent's turn, you can bring them back with Futsu. And once the purposes, you can link them off with this to make IP for an extra removal or 2. Or you can make Dynamondo to get your rituals back and pop cards. However, I think in the future I would cut 1 copy of each to play the Devour the Dogma and Theseus for more super polarization targets, because they deal with 2 of the best decks in Branded and Cartoon better than these do. 1 Typhon to bounce opposing BLSs, to bounce some Doom Z stuff, etc., and just remove threats in general. So not bounce, I negate those things and bounce one thing. My apologies. We then have the Fallen of the Virtuous targets, 2 ways to get the additional copies, and a way to get 2 pieces of removal out of the last one. And we have a rank 4 package for the Mitsurugis. The Goose good, if things go bad, you can just stall out with it. This card pop back row like the chess pieces, field spells, etc. This is the most important one in the deck though, because it can either draw you additional cards by skipping a draw phase, or double attack points by skipping a next battle phase. And a 9k BLS is almost always going to get you the victory. Sorry, 8-5 BLS, I'm sorry. Because you do it to 6k attacks, and then it becomes an 8-5 on the second attack. And of course, going second, this is one of the best things to do first. You play it, you wipe the opponent's board, and then you can start your own plays. Which again, with the BLS and the Mitsurugis, you're probably going to OTK at that point, if this goes through. Because I was playing some level 8s, I thought, why not? Hope Harbinger for a spell negate. I think I'd rather play the Galaxy XC in the future that just offers you a monster negate, but this was still decent. So that's the main and the extra. Going to the side, we are playing 2 copies of Perulia, which I would play a third of if I play the deck again. I didn't play because I wanted more back row hate, so I probably would cut either the Harpies or one of the Lightning Storms in the future for a third copy. We then have 3 copies of Evenly Matched, because this is one of my favourite board wipes. And the amount of resources that this denies your opponent if it resolves is insane. Because yeah, you aren't guaranteed to one-shot them anymore. And with this, it's giving you a battle phase, you pretty much can't do that in this deck. But if most of their cards banish face down, they ain't recurring those resources very easy. So, and when you see how, and you've seen how well our deck can recur resources, this card almost guarantees a win in a grind game. Super Poly, because not only does it give us ways to remove 2 or 3 things off the opponent's field, it also gives us Garua for an extra card draw if we do break. And you can use the Garua for any of your Link 2s to get the card draw. And if we're going first, I wanted to play things that stifle our opponent's hand traps and abilities to build their own field going second. So 2 draws prevent their search in their deck, and 1 copy each of Tactics and Call by the Grave to deal with their hand traps. In addition to this, going second, Tactics can be really fun, as you can steal something big from them to help push for an OTK. So yeah, this deck is not the ideal version of the deck. Without access to the Dark Magician card, bridging is not very easy, outside of just saying the Skull of a Ritual. So if you open up all Mitsurugi, it's very, very hard to get into the Roland engine unless you happen to draw a piece off of the draw from the Dugaris. So yeah, if you have the money, I would definitely add in the Magician's Souls package with the Ambition of Destruction. But there's still a pretty powerful way to win in Yu-Gi-Oh! Not a budget, but a lesser expense. As if you draw one of each engine, you can get both on the board, which gives you an insane grind game and amount of removal. And if you draw things like Fallen of the Virtuous, it's even better with that. It puts up an incredible amount of damage with things like Habakiri and BLS. And with Mitsurugi being completely budgeted out thanks to the decks, and this deck being a bit pricey but really powerful, you can build this deck to try the engine out and then expand into either the Azamina way of playing it or the branded way of playing it in the future once you have the money for it. Thank you all for watching this video. I will see you all in the next one for my Jirai Gumo Warrior Guide in Go format, and see you all soon.